I wanted to kind of show you guys it's 103 out. My air conditioning is working better than it ever has since I've ever had any of my TDIs. I have two of them. And stay tuned, I'm going to show you exactly what I did and how it works a little bit and what was wrong with mine. Now, there could be something else wrong with your car, but this is what's wrong with mine. And there's a little valve on the air conditioning compressor. In fact, my other car, I replaced the air conditioning compressor, and even after replacing the air conditioning compressor, it never blew as cold as it blows right now. So it tells me that maybe those little valves that came on, and then I'm talking about a factory Sanden air compressor. So I put in another Sanden air compressor, original equipment, and it still would not work as good as it's working now. So just let you know that I didn't just get a cheap part. So anyway, stay tuned and take a look at all the stuff we did to this car, and it's blowing. It's 103 out, and my air conditioning's always been marginal in my Volkswagens, and now it's actually blowing like any other car I've ever owned with air conditioning. I'm going to do a review on these RGX brand air conditioning. Make sure you get this brand. Don't buy the generic one. On eBay, they have these valves for your Jetta TDI air conditioning, and one of the issues with Volkswagens has always been the air conditioning doesn't work for crap. So I just took a chance. I was sick of buying compressors. That, you know what, I'm just gonna buy one of these, and from these guys, since they're the name brand, I figured, you know, they're like 35 bucks or something like that. I don't remember exactly how much money they were. Look it up for yourself on eBay. And I just changed one of my cars over to this RGX brand. I was having intermittent air conditioning problems, and what we noticed was that the original one has a smaller piston. So it looks like they've improved the design. Is what they did, is they re-engineered it. This is something you'll have to find often with Volkswagens. It's longer than the other one, and the piston design is different. It seems like what it does is it brings the Freon in a lot faster. When I put the Freon in this car, immediately it sucked the Freon in with this new valve. So stay tuned if you want to find out. Make sure you subscribe, and you might want to find out more about this one after I've had it on for a while. And I don't know if I'll put this on the same video here or not, but we're gonna also show how you install it. Okay, it's very easy to install, fairly easy actually, not hard. On the 09 it's a little harder because there's actually some, I have an 09 and an 06, and on the 06 it's a little easier to install. On the 09 these valves are a little bit harder to install, but you do it right inside the car with just the belly pan off, and that's it. There's a little snap ring, you pull this out, slide this guy out, put the new one in. It's a little harder to get the new one in. Make sure you use some PAG oil on your O-rings so it slides in, and you know, it's really not hard to do. We'll show you that in a second. On the 06 and 09 Jetta, this is the underneath the car. The belly pan is removed. I have an aluminum one, and it's this valve right here that's on the AC compressor. We've already taken the Freon out. You're supposed to use a recovery system, but hypothetically someone could, in a place where it's legal to do so, could just push the Schrader valve in and let all the Freon out up above, or hook up a pressure unit to it and release it all from above, hypothetically. Got an O-ring, snap ring pliers. There's a snap ring in that hole in there, and it's a real tight fit, so you got to get the snap ring out, and then you just draw the thing out. Alright, so you just pry it out of there. See, it's not that hard, not that easy, but it's not that hard too. You can see it's coming apart a little bit. Funny thing is, on the 09, even though it's a tighter area, it's a little bit easier to remove this. On the 06, the fan is in the way. If you can see that, that's a little bit of the PAG oil that leaks out. So on these, on the one, I've already replaced this compressor with a sand end compressor, and they have a no-name one in here, but it looked exactly the same as the RGX, well, almost exactly the same as the RGX brand. So we're going to see how this one works. This one was obviously having a problem. This car was intermittent air conditioning, and no matter how I tried charging it, recharging it, and putting the proper amount of Freon in it, it still just wouldn't quite work right. So we'll find out here shortly if it's better with this one, and then I'll do a review and after 6 months or so. So we got these cheapy Harbor Freight tools, gauges. Might be a good investment to buy. They're not expensive. And then we have this evacuator, vacuum pump from Harbor Freight Tools. What that does is when you bring it down to 30 inches of vacuum for a period of time, everything inside the system turns to like all the moisture inside the system turns to like dust, and then it sucks right out of the it just disintegrates all of it, because water has a boiling point of a much lower temperature in a vacuum than it does in regular temperature or regular atmosphere. It's 102 out. But yeah, you know, you have to check your AC when it's hot. So if you just check it when it's cool, sometimes you'll get fooled that the AC is working, and the AC is not really working very good on a hot day. And I'll go over real quick what that might be, since I'm just driving and I just had this happen, because you have to get the exact amount of Freon in your system. I mean, if you're going to do anything, short it a little bit. If you put in too much Freon, and I'll tell you how you know, is when it's hot out, what happens is the high side builds up too much pressure and then sends a signal to the computer, because everything's, of course, run by the computer, because it's Volkswagen. Hello. Which sucks. So the computer says, oh my god, there's too much pressure. Shuts off the AC system. So a lot of times when you're driving the car, if you put too much Freon in, so you might have gotten your RGX valve changed, the one I put in here, and by the way, they work great. I think if I was going to put in a new compressor, I would just put in one of those valves and just put one of those in it, because I had a sand end compressor on this, and it never quite worked right. So it tells me that maybe the sand ends have an issue with their valves. Even though the sand end is the best one to buy, better than any other brand if you're buying a new compressor. But if you've just done the job and you've noticed you're driving down the road, you sit there at idle, it starts to get kind of cool, it starts to seem like it's working, then you start to drive a little bit and it starts to build up some pressure because you got the engine RPMs above idle, and all of a sudden it starts to get hot in the car. If that happens, you might have overcharged the system. So if you look at the label under the hood, it says, I think it's 525 grams. Don't quote me on it, I'm not looking right at it, but I think I recall it being 525 grams of Freon. So if you convert that, of course, if you're in America, you convert that to pounds, it's going to be something different. But it ends up being about 1, and I think it's just past a half cans of Freon. So it's about 1.6. Don't quote me on that. Do your own research. Make sure you get the right amount in. But let's say, for instance, 1.6 cans is what I kind of figured out, something like that. Freon. If you put in like 1.75 cans of Freon, it's going to overcharge the system, and then when you're driving it, it'll automatically shut off, so your system won't work as well. So like I said, it's almost better in these VWs if you have it a little bit low. So if you put a can and a half in, it probably would still work as good as it's going to work, which is actually quite a bit better. I don't think this car has been this cool maybe almost since it was new. I think we didn't buy it new, but we bought it with 80,000 miles on it, and not long after that we replaced the compressor. So when, you know, it had the original compressor in it, and it AC worked about like it's working right now. So that's about as good as it's ever worked. Even after 2 compressors, it never quite worked as good as it's working even right now. So yeah, so we're getting to 103 outside. It's blowing nice and cool. Feels like very, very cold air. I got it at 64 just because I just want to make sure that it's doing as much as it can. I usually will set it at 72, but I got it at 64 just to run it. So yeah, if you're, that's just a little pointer. If you're having a problem with your AC, that might be the issue if you've just done the valve and you're wondering why it doesn't work right. So anyway, yeah, I would highly recommend those valves if you are trying it. I mean, it seems like it's been engineered better than the original. I don't work for RGX or whatever, who that brand is. I just happen to be fed up with garbage parts, and I was willing to pay more, and I just bought those, and I don't remember how much they were. Bought them on eBay, and they actually work really good. So far, now maybe in 6 months I'll have a different idea. You might want to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned and check then. Alright, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Is on the 06 and 09 Jetta. This is the underneath the car. The belly pan is removed. I have an aluminum one, and it's this valve right here that's on the AC compressor. We've already taken the Freon out. You're supposed to use a recovery system, but hypothetically someone could, in a place where it's legal to do so, could just push the Schrader valve in and let all the Freon out up above, or hook up a pressure unit to it and release it all from above, hypothetically.